Imagine being just 10 years old, and your billionaire father tells you to choose your own new mother out of 5 rich women sitting at the table, each of them glamorous, powerful, dripping in diamonds. But none of them cared about love. And when the little girl stood up to make her choice, everyone gasped in shock because she didn't pick a millionaire or a movie star. She pointed to someone no one expected. And what happened next left even her father speechless. Who do you want as your new mother? The words sliced through the air like a THUNDERCLAP.10-year-old. Emily sat frozen at the enormous golden dining table of her father's mansion, her tiny hands trembling against the polished surface. She thought she had misheard him, but her father, the billionaire Jonathan Reeves, sat across from her with a serious face and a glass of wine in his hand, waiting for her reply. Emily's big brown eyes darted nervously around the room. On one side of the table, 5 dazzling women sat, all dressed in luxury gowns that sparkled under the chandelier. They weren't strangers. Her father had paraded them around the house for weeks, introducing them one by one, like contestants in a show she didn't want to watch. But now, it wasn't just introductions. Her father had dropped the unthinkable. She had to choose which one of them would replace her mother. Emily's heart pounded. She whispered, "Dad, I don't understand." Jonathan Reeves leaned forward. His silver cufflinks glinted under the light, and his sharp, commanding voice echoed in the room. "It's simple, Emily. Your mother is gone. We both know we can't live like this forever. A family needs a mother, so I've gathered the best options for us. These are successful, wealthy women who can give you a life fit for a princess. All you have to do is choose." Emily's chest tightened. 2 years had passed since her mom had died, but Emily still remembered her mother's laughter, the way she brushed her hair at night, the bedtime stories, the gentle kisses on her forehead. None of those things could be replaced by diamonds, designer clothes, or fancy titles. She looked at the women. They all smiled at her, but their eyes told different stories. Some looked eager. Some looked impatient. One even looked like she was sizing Emily up, as if she were just a piece of property. Jonathan noticed his daughter's hesitation and raised his voice. "Emily, don't be afraid. You're not a child anymore. You're 10 years old. You're smart enough to make a decision. Do you want the glamorous actress, the powerful lawyer, the fashion queen? Choose wisely, because your future depends on it." Emily's throat went dry. Her father's words felt heavy, like 1,000 bricks pressing down on her. She wasn't ready for this. She didn't even want this. But her father's piercing gaze told her he expected an answer. The chandelier lights glistened on the marble floor, the silence stretching unbearably. The only sound was the faint ticking of the grandfather clock in the hallway. Emily's eyes filled with tears as she lowered her head. For the first time, she realized her father didn't understand her at all. He thought love was something you could replace with wealth. He thought family was something you could choose like items off a menu. But Emily knew the truth deep inside her heart. None of these women could ever be her mom, and yet she would have to speak. Emily's small fingers clutched the edge of her chair as her father motioned toward the row of glamorous women seated before her. "Emily," Jonathan Reeves announced with pride, "these are the finest women I've chosen for you to meet. They're intelligent, powerful, and wealthy. Any one of them could give you the life your late mother could not. Look at them carefully. Decide wisely." The first to step forward was Isabella, the fashion designer. She swept across the floor, as if she were walking down a runway. Her silk gown shimmered like liquid gold, and she wore a necklace that sparkled with rare diamonds. She bent down slightly toward Emily, her voice smooth and persuasive. "Sweetheart," she cooed, "with me as your mother, you'll never have to worry about looking ordinary again." I'll design dresses just for you more beautiful than anything. In Paris, you'll be the envy of every little girl in the world." Emily's eyes widened at the jewels, but then lowered. She didn't care about being envied. She just wanted someone to braid her hair and read bedtime stories. Next came Victoria, the famous actress. With a dramatic flair, she tossed her perfectly styled hair over her shoulder and knelt beside Emily. "Darling, imagine walking red carpets with me, cameras flashing, reporters calling your name. You'll live in Hollywood, surrounded by stars. The world will know you as my daughter." She winked playfully, blowing Emily a kiss. The room filled with her perfume, strong and overwhelming. Emily shifted uncomfortably. She had no interest in flashing cameras. She only wanted someone to sit beside her when she felt lonely at night. The third woman, Samantha, carried herself with an air of power. She was the owner of a chain of luxury hotels and spoke as though she were running a board meeting. Her voice was deep and commanding. "Emily, I can give you security. You'll grow up in penthouses, travel first class, dine in the best restaurants around the globe. You'll never need to worry about a single thing for the rest of your life. My empire will be your empire." Emily felt small under Samantha's sharp gaze. Security? Empires? Those words meant nothing to a 10-year-old who just wanted a warm hug. The fourth candidate, Catherine, was a wealthy lawyer. She adjusted her diamond-studded glasses and smiled stiffly. "My dear," she said, "I can make you a strong, intelligent young woman. I'll teach you the law, guide you into the world of justice, and ensure you grow up to be as powerful as your father. No one will ever take advantage of you." Her tone was serious, almost too serious. Emily's little heart sank. She didn't want someone who would treat her like a student. She wanted someone who would treat her like a child, like a daughter. Finally, there was Olivia, the wealthy socialite. Unlike the others, she barely looked at Emily. She sat scrolling through her phone, only glancing up briefly to say, "We'll go shopping every day, darling. You'll have designer shoes, handbags, whatever you want. I'll make sure you're always in style." Then she returned to her phone, clearly uninterested. Emily's face flushed with disappointment. Shopping? Trips? Designer shoes? None of these women spoke about love, kindness, or family. Her father clapped his hands together. "Well, Emily? 5 extraordinary women, each offering you the best of life. Which one do you want to call mother?" The chandelier sparkled. Above, the air heavy with perfume and tension. Emily looked from face to face, feeling more lost with every passing second. Each woman offered riches, but none offered the one thing her heart craved most, the warmth of a mother's love. The room grew heavy with silence after her father's booming question. "Well, Emily? Choose." The 5 women leaned forward, each waiting for their name to leave the little girl's lips. Their smiles stretched wide, but their eyes carried greed, impatience, and calculation. The air smelled of expensive perfume, and the glimmer of diamonds sparkled across the table. Emily's small chest rose and fell as she tried to breathe. Her father had made it sound simple: pick a mother. But how could she? None of the women reminded her of the one person she truly longed for, her real mom. Her eyes blurred with tears. She lowered her head, wishing she could run away. But then, out of the corner of her eye, she noticed someone who wasn't sitting at the table, someone who wasn't competing at all. In the far corner of the dining room stood Grace, the housekeeper. She wore her usual plain uniform, her hair tied neatly back and her hands folded in front of her. She hadn't spoken a word during the entire event, standing quietly as she always did. But Emily's heart leaped at the sight of her memories, flooded back. Grace cooking her favorite pancakes shaped like smiley faces. Grace kneeling by her bed when she cried at night, whispering gentle words until she fell asleep. Grace brushing the tangles out of her hair while humming softly, just like her mom used to. Grace never asked for anything in return. She was just there. For years, Grace had been more of a mother than anyone else. Emily's tears dried. Her lips trembled, but a sudden courage filled her little body. She stood up, her chair screeching loudly against the polished floor. Every head turned toward her. "I choose," she began, her voice shaky but firming with every word. "I choose Grace. I want Grace to be my new mom." Gasps echoed around the table. The 5 glamorous women froze, their faces twisting in shock. Isabella's jaw dropped. Victoria's dramatic smile vanished. Samantha raised her eyebrows in disbelief. Catherine nearly choked on her wine. And Olivia, the socialite, scoffed and muttered, "What? The maid?" Jonathan's glass slipped from his hand, shattering on the floor. His face turned red with fury. "Grace," he shouted, "she's just a housekeeper, Emily. Do you realize what you're saying?" But Emily didn't back down. Her little feet carried her across the room. She reached Grace and took her hand, squeezing it tightly. Looking up at her father, she spoke with a strength he had never heard before. "She's the only one who makes me feel loved. She's the only one who cares about me when no one else does. I don't need diamonds or fame, Dad. I just need a mom who loves me, and that's Grace." Grace's eyes filled with tears. She pressed her free hand to her chest, stunned that the little girl she had cared for quietly all these years had chosen her above all the glamorous options. The 5 women, insulted and humiliated, exchanged bitter glances. Their pride wouldn't allow them to stay in a room where a child had chosen a housekeeper over them. One by one, they began to rise, their heels clicking angrily against the marble floor. But Emily didn't notice them leaving. She stood beside Grace, clinging to her hand like a lifeline. For the first time since her mother's death, she felt a flicker of hope and safety. The sound of shattering glass still rang in Jonathan Reeves's ears as he stared at his daughter holding the hand of the housekeeper. His face was flushed, his chest heaving with disbelief. "Grace?" he repeated, his voice low at first, but trembling with anger. "Out of all these women, Emily, you choose her? She has nothing to offer you." Emily's grip on Grace's hand only tightened. The little girl lifted her chin bravely, though her voice cracked. "She has everything I need, Dad. She loves me. That's more than any of them ever said." The 5 glamorous women erupted in protest. Isabella snapped, "This is absurd. Do you have any idea who I am?" Victoria tossed her hair dramatically. "You'd rather be raised by a maid than a movie star? How insulting." Samantha sneered. "Jonathan, this is a waste of my time. I don't compete with servants." Catherine adjusted her glasses and muttered, "Unbelievable. This is childish." And Olivia didn't even bother to hide her disgust. "I knew this was a joke. Let's go, ladies." One by one, they gathered their purses and stormed out, their heels echoing sharply against the marble floor. Their perfumes lingered like a cloud of disappointment as the heavy front doors slammed shut behind them. The dining hall fell into silence once again, except now it was a heavier silence. Jonathan stood at the head of the table, breathing hard, staring at Grace like she was the reason his perfect plan had collapsed. "You filled her head with this nonsense, haven't you?" he accused. His voice was cold, sharp like a knife. Grace's eyes widened in shock. "Mr. Reeves, I would never—" "Don't!" Jonathan barked, cutting her off. He turned to Emily, his voice softening but trembling. "Emily, you don't understand what you're saying. These women could have given you the world. Anything you wanted, power, money, fame. And you're telling me you'd throw all that away for a woman who scrubs floors?" Emily's lips quivered, but she stood, Firm. Yes, Dad, because love is worth more than money. You don't see it, but I do. Her words struck him like a blow. For a moment, Jonathan was speechless. All his life, Jonathan Reeves had measured everything in wealth. Success was numbers. Happiness was luxury. Love, he had believed, was just another deal to negotiate. But looking at his daughter, his only child, he realized he had failed to understand her deepest need. Grace finally spoke, her voice calm but steady. Mr. Reeves, I never tried to take your wife's place. I only did what any decent person would do, care for a child who needed love. I didn't do it for recognition or wealth. I did it because she deserves it. Jonathan swallowed hard, his pride warring with the truth in Grace's words. For the first time, he saw Emily not as a child to be guided by money, but as a little girl aching for warmth and affection. And it terrified him, because deep down, he knew Emily was right. That night, Jonathan Reeves sat alone in his study. The fire in the grand fireplace flickered, but he felt no warmth. His mind replayed the events of the evening over and over. Emily standing in front of the women, her small voice declaring that she chose Grace. The look in her eyes had been so certain, so unshakable, it rattled him to his core. For years, Jonathan believed money could fix everything. When his wife died, he buried himself in business deals, convinced that luxury and success would shield Emily from pain. But instead, he had only built a golden prison around her, filling the mansion with silence and emptiness. Now, his daughter had spoken the truth he'd been too blind to see. Love couldn't be bought. He poured himself a drink, but his hand shook, so much that the glass slipped and rolled across the desk. Jonathan leaned forward, his head in his hands. For the first time in decades, he felt powerless. Not in business, but in the one place it mattered most, his family. The next morning, he made a decision. Grace was in the kitchen, her hands deep in soapy water, washing the breakfast dishes. Emily sat nearby, happily chatting with her as though nothing unusual had happened. When Jonathan walked in, both of them fell silent. Grace, he began, his voice lower, almost hesitant. May I speak with you? Grace wiped her hands on a towel and nodded politely. Of course, sir. He hesitated for a moment, then sighed. Last night I was angry. I thought Emily's choice was foolish. But now I see it wasn't foolish at all. She didn't choose wealth. She chose love, something I've forgotten how to value. Emily's eyes widened. Hopeful. Jonathan turned toward Grace, his expression softer than she had ever seen. Grace, you've been more than just a housekeeper in this home. You've been a mother to Emily when she needed one most. I see that now. And if you're willing, I would like you to officially become part of this family. Grace froze, her eyes welling with tears. She shook her head slightly. Mr. Reeves, I don't know what to say. I never expected anything like this. I only wanted to care for Emily because she deserved love. That's exactly why, Jonathan said firmly. Because you gave her what no one else could not. Fame, not diamonds, not riches. You gave her love. Emily jumped up from her chair and ran to hug Grace tightly. See, Dad? I told you she's the only one who makes me feel like I still have a mom. Grace hugged the little girl back, her voice trembling with emotion. If this is truly what you want, Emily, then yes, I'll stay, not as your housekeeper, but as your family. Jonathan felt a weight lift from his chest. For the first time in years, he smiled, not the forced smile of a businessman closing a deal, but a genuine smile of a father who had finally understood. The mansion was no longer silent. From that day forward, it echoed with laughter, warmth, and love. Emily had her mother again, not the one she had lost, but the one her heart had chosen. And Jonathan Reeves, the billionaire who thought money could buy everything, learned the thing. Most valuable lesson of all: wealth can build an empire, but only love can build a home. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to hit the like button. Share it with someone who needs this reminder today. And of course, subscribe to the channel for more inspiring stories just like this one. Your support means the world, and it helps us keep bringing you these powerful life lessons. See you in the next story.